everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna and I'm really excited to film this video because I was thinking, I was kind of running out of ideas and I was like, what do I want to film? And then suddenly I just had the idea of filming my own bookshelf tour for 2026. Now, I do want to preface this. I am very excited to film this video, but I actually do not like my bookshelves at all. It is what it is. It's the bookshelves that I do have. I can't really change them because they just came with the house, and I honestly thought, okay, I'm just going to use these, for my own bookshelves, because before they had a completely different purpose. But since I entered my reading life, those are the shelves that I use to store all of the books I own. They are in my room, and like I said, I don't really enjoy them. I don't think they are that aesthetic. I don't know, I just really wanted, one normal bookshelf, just those boring IKEA ones, just like everyone else has. I just don't like my shelves, and you're going to see why. It's just a weird shape. It doesn't really have that much space, and even though I don't really like my bookshelves, I am filming this video because this year, maybe, perhaps, if money doesn't fly off, we are going to change my bookshelf. So I say we because me and my parents, we're all, they're all going to help me in this process. So I really want to film, the before. I do think I'm going to remember the bookshelves, but I just really want to film them. I really want to show my bookshelves to you guys because we are going to have an upgrade this year in the future. I don't know when, but I am very, very excited for those bookshelves. Like I said, I'm going to buy the IKEA ones, just the boring ones, but they just have so much more space, and I only need one shelf. Like, that is the only thing I need. It's just one bookcase. That is the only thing I need. So without further ado, let's start our tour. So we have this one shelf. As you can tell, it is quite small, and then we have the other shelf that is right above it, and this one is longer, but I don't know, I just really do not like this. I don't think this is aesthetic at all. As you can tell, no, I don't like this. And you can also tell that I am running out of space because now I have to stack books, and I do have a lot of knickknacks, and some of them are weird, so please do not judge me. But let us start with the smaller shelf. So just a brief overview here. You're mostly going to see fantasy because that is my favorite genre, but I do have my small classics collection right here. I really, really love it, and I'm going to show you, I don't know if I'm going to show you, one book at a time, but of course here we have all of my Cosmere books. These are just some of my favorite fantasy books. There really isn't, an order to this, at least one that makes sense. It just makes sense in my own head. So here we kind of have, the high fantasy and the Cosmere and then my classics, but I'm going to show you guys, one book at a time. So before I even start with the books, I just want to show you my cute knickknacks. So we have my Look Up Nanami figurine. I absolutely love him. I think he is the cutest thing in this world. He just keeps looking at me, looking over me, watching me while I study or while I read. I just absolutely love him. So this is where he resides. And I have this cute little I think it's a dinosaur, but it does look more like a turtle. But I just absolutely love this. This is the cutest thing ever. And I don't know why. I just like it, okay? I didn't really want to throw it. And it just has such a silly head. And the way that it walks is so, it's just so stupid. And I absolutely love this. Also, we do have, I don't know what this is. Like, literally trash. But this is the pot where I have just a bunch of acorns. Why? I couldn't tell you why, but I just love them. Like, look, they look so perfect. Some of them have broken off, unfortunately, look at this one. But I don't know, I was just seeing a lot of these at the park while I walked my dog, and I just felt like having them. So here we have, my pot of acorns, and I'm just gonna set it here to the side for now. And Nanami too, okay, you also have to come here, and the little turtle, because this, obviously, as you know, I love high fantasy, and if anyone loves high fantasy, you do have to read The Lord of the Rings. It is pretty much mandatory at this point, and I just love it. I love The Hobbit, and as you can tell, it is very much loved because the spine is broken. I just love it. The pages have also yellowed, and it just gives it such an ancient old vibe. And also, if I can find it, oh, here we have it. Yep, I have a 4-leaf clover here. I don't know, I just thought it would match the aesthetic of The Hobbit. So, of course, I do have The Lord of the Rings. Let me just put this right back here. I also do have the special edition of The Final Empire because Mistborn is one of my favorite trilogies of all times. It is probably, it might be actually my favorite series of Brandon Sanderson. So I needed to have this, especially because this cost me, 14 euros, which in my opinion is kind of insane. And then I do have the entire Mistborn trilogy in Portuguese because I just wanted really to support, the Portuguese publishers here. And I love the fact that these covers only exist for the Portuguese edition. So we do have our own covers, which is insane. The only thing I don't like is the fact that this is the third book. So they had to divide the third book into 2 parts because unfortunately fantasy doesn't sell that much here, and in order for them to make profit they had to separate the last book, divide it into 2. But other than that, I just absolutely love this trilogy. Like I said, it's one of my favorites of all times. I absolutely love this cover. I love the purples, the blues, just everything. And look how heavily annotated this is. Like, this is so annotated. I don't know why, but it is. It's just that deep. I was going to say it wasn't that deep, but it is. It is that deep, and I just love this trilogy. If you haven't read it yet, then please give it a chance. So now here we have the rest of my Cosmere collection. We have Era 2, which honestly, I did enjoy, but Era 1 is still goated for me. We have Elantris. I also very much enjoyed Elantris. I know this is the first book that he ever wrote, and a lot of people, it's not like they don't like the first book, they just it's just not really their favorite, but I actually enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars. I thought, you could tell that this was, Sanderson's first book, which is completely fine. We all evolve when it comes to our writing, and it was only by writing Elantris that he could write Mistborn that he managed to do that. But yeah, I actually do prefer Elantris to, for example, Warbreaker. I know a lot of people like Warbreaker, but to me, it was just a 3.5 stars because I did think the magic system was interesting. Using colors as a magic system is pretty cool, but the characters just weren't my favorite. I couldn't really connect with them. And not only that, it was just this feeling of, it was supposed to be a political book, but it didn't really have that much politics. You had 2 characters that were supposed to be at court. So, for example, you have one of the girls, I think her name is Siri, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. She's supposed to marry the emperor of this realm, of this world, and she does marry the emperor. So I thought, okay, now she's going to the court and she's going to do, all of this political things, but she doesn't really, and it's normal because she doesn't understand that court and she is still learning. But then we have another character that is a god at that court, and he also, he knows how it works, but he doesn't do a lot of politicking because he just refuses. He doesn't like politics. He doesn't like playing those games. So we ended up not really having a political fantasy, and that was something that I was expecting. Of course, I do have the novella Dawnshard and Arcane Unbounded, which is actually very, very important. It does have the secret history, but I do have it, on the side, the hardcover edition, because I actually bought the hardcover edition back when Book Depository existed. Do y'all remember Book Depository? That's where I got most of my books, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, so this is all of the books that I have here stacked up. And of course, we do have Yumi, The Silent Man, and Tress of the Emerald Sea. And out of these 3 secret projects, my favorite does have to be Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Hold on, let me just show it to you. And here she is in all its glory. I just absolutely loved Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. It was just such a good story. And even though the story isn't, amazing, I just really connected with both of the characters. I thought the romance was very, very cute. They were very cute together, and I was rooting for them all the way. I could especially relate to the Nightmare Painter because he does suffer a lot from imposter syndrome, not really believing in himself, in his own art, and believing that he can actually change the world and do something. So this one was my favorite. I did like The Silent Man, but not as much. I gave it, a 4 stars. Yumi, I did give 4.5. The Silent Man, I did like revisiting this character that is in the Stormlight archives, but, the story just wasn't anything special in my opinion. And Tress of the Emerald Sea was the one that I didn't really enjoy. I gave it a 3.5 stars. It is a good book, but because this is so inspired by The Princess Bride, and I'm not usually a fan of those type of movies, of those type of fairy tales, it just didn't really hit home. But I do understand how cute it is, and I did really enjoy the world building in this book. And now moving on to what can be considered as my classics collection. This one, it's not a classic. It is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, but I do think this is going to be a classic someday. That's why it's here. I actually did not enjoy this book that much because I still give it a 3 stars because the writing in this is stunning, and the research that this man had to do about these monks and the church and religion, it was very amazing. But not only that, the murder mystery is very fun. But the reason why I didn't enjoy this, it's because it is very much focused on religion, and that is not a theme that I like or I'm interested in. So it just, unfortunately, didn't work for me. And then we have the best classic that I've read in my entire existence, which is The Count of Monte Cristo. I know the cover is ugly, okay, I do know that, but it was cheap. And just look at the amount of annotations that I do have. It's insane. It was such an amazing book. Please give it a chance. I know it is a chunky book, but it is just so good. It's one of the best revenge stories that I've ever read in my entire life. So please give it a chance. It is amazing. I read it back in 2023, and of course, it has to be a 5-star book. And then we do have Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And from this book, I only actually read the short story Notes from the Underground. As you can tell, I annotated it, and it was okay. You know, it was a 3.5. I do enjoy Dostoevsky's writing, but he just rambled. Like, it's just literally notes that he wrote, and I could relate to some. Others, I didn't really understand what he was trying to say. But this year, I do really want to read White Nights, that is in this book. And then we have one classic that I read in 2025. Absolutely loved it. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Everyone should read this book. It is so good. It's a masterpiece. I completely understand why this is a 5 stars. It's just amazing. I absolutely love this. And then I also have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I did enjoy this. I gave this a 4 stars. You know, it's not amazing, groundbreaking, but I did really enjoy his writing and just the themes about beauty, what it means to be ugly on the inside, ugly on the outside, how that can affect how other people view us, how we behave towards the world. Just those themes which are very interesting. And I also have, okay, so before, I just have this cute little bookcase. It has nothing inside, but it was just very cute that my boyfriend offered that had some chocolates inside. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I absolutely love this cover. Like, this cover is stunning. And I also annotated the heck out of this one. I gave it a 4 stars because I read this after reading The Count of Monte Cristo, and nothing can top The Count of Monte Cristo, but it was such an amazing book. And I can totally understand the hype around this because Dostoevsky here, he just talks about so many themes, you know, about how guilt can really consume us, because this man, this character is consumed by guilt in just 3 days. In 3 days, he just goes down this rabbit hole and he doesn't really understand, you know, what he's doing, what is happening around him. The only thing that he wants to do is sleep. He tries to justify his own crimes. And then a second later, he thinks that he should be in jail, that he should be, you know, executed. It's just a very interesting insight in the human soul. And that is something that Dostoevsky is really, really good at. Really analyzing and understanding the depths of the human soul. And lastly, we have this little one, Letters to Young Poets by Rainer Maria Rilke. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I absolutely love this book. It is so short. Please read it. Is it groundbreaking? No, it is not groundbreaking, but through these letters, he really manages to give us so much advice about how to live life, and he is so comforting and so optimistic. It's just so heartwarming. Whenever I have doubts about my own life, whenever I'm feeling depressed, sad, anxious, whatever, I always go back to this little guy because he just talks about how living, you know, is something that you have to experience. You're not going to understand what living is, and you're not going to know how to live without living. It's literally something that you just have to experience for yourself. You can't question everything or have doubts about everything. You just have to live life. And I absolutely love this book, so please read it if you're feeling down in your life. Now going up to the top shelf, I do have this wonderful artwork. I think it's by Roy Art. I am going to leave the handle here on the screen. It is just an amazing art, and I do love this frame that I found, but it is broken. It's a little bit broken, which is sad. But in this corner, we do have a Portuguese fantasy book, O Despertar do Caos, from Ricardo C. Dias, and this is my favorite Portuguese fantasy book. It is very well written, and it is such an evolution from what I usually see here in Portugal, because here in my country, we are still very much focused on the structure of the Tolkien story, which is completely fine. But I do think there has to be a point where we do evolve, and this book does show that evolution. It is very much inspired by, you can tell, Joe Abercrombie and Brandon Sanderson, which I absolutely enjoyed. And then we do have my pride and joy, you know, just something that I absolutely love, which is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. Martin. I bought all of these books on Vinted, so they were a steal. It was 32 euros, I think, for the 5 books, and I love them. I just absolutely love them. I love this series with all of my heart. I read this last year. I became completely obsessed with this universe, and yes, now I've joined the group of people that is just waiting for this man to finish this series. I do believe, okay? I do believe, and I do have faith that George R. R. Martin is going to finish A Song of Ice and Fire, because even he keeps saying it himself that he does have to finish, and out of all of these books, this one is God tier. A Storm of Swords, and I do know that this is a very common opinion. This is God tier. Like, this was the best book that I've ever read in my entire life, that I will ever read in my entire life, and I just know I'm going to have a blast when I reread this series, because there's just going to be so much that I didn't catch up in the beginning that I'm going to find out right now. And I think my other favorite has to be Game of Thrones, because it is very much focused on the Stark family, and they are my favorite family, so I do think that has to be my second favorite. And then it is A Clash of Kings, A Dance with Dragons and A Feast for Crows, because this one is very focused on the Lannisters, and as you all know, I do not like the Lannisters one bit. So yeah, let me just, yep, I knew this would happen. Oh, okay. It's not gonna fall? Okay, it's not gonna fall. So yeah, I just absolutely love these books, and I love the fact that I finally own them. Oh my god, this, my life.
One eternity later.
Okay, you are alive, but I did break a little bit, this little thing from the camera. It isn't, too severe, but oh well, it was literally, I think it's the cover for, where the charger is, so you can put the charger, so it's not that bad, but my god, doing this with one hand is very, very tragic, so I do need to be more careful, and I do have this very cool skull that I bought at a medieval fair here in my town, which I absolutely adore, and it has to sit on top of A Song of Ice and Fire, of course. Next up, we have Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, and I also don't really see this book around that much, which is kind of sad, because this book, is it amazing? No, it is not amazing. I give this 4 stars, but it is such a fun book, and I don't understand why people don't read this. This is very much inspired by D&D, and this is a story of 5 people, 5 grown-ass men that are too old for adventures, but they have to rejoin, form the group back up for one last adventure, because the daughter of one of the members is in danger, so of course they all have to join forces again, and they have to help, and it's hilarious, because imagine 50-year-old men going back to adventures, everything is cracking, their back, their knees, they just don't have the same sense of adventure anymore, they just don't want to do these things, and it's just really, really funny, and such a good time. And then we have Midnight Never Come by Marie Brennan, and this one was a very big disappointment for me, because I found this actually at a bookstore here in my town, and it was €5, €4.90, which is kind of insane, and I just love the cover. I love the fact that the Faes were dark and manipulative and just mean overall in general, and I really wanted that, and that did happen. The Fae here are mean, manipulative, and I was happy with that, but the problem was the story. It's very political fantasy, and it is way too short for that. And what I felt happened here was you had, the story goes through a big span of time, like years sometimes, and because of that, you don't really have time to connect with the characters, you don't have time for the plot to sit, because the author just didn't have, the amount of pages necessary to explore the story, the political intrigue, just everything, and because of that, I just did not get to know the characters. They were just characters to me, I just didn't really know them that well, and I couldn't create that much of a connection, and that's why this was a disappointment for me. Unfortunately, it was a 2.5 stars. And going back a little bit, now we do have the 2 books in the Ninth House trilogy, or Alex Stern trilogy, and it is going to be a trilogy, and I think the first book is coming out in 2026, actually this year, which I did not know, and I'm very, very excited, because I usually don't tend to like urban fantasy, but these 2 books are Dark Academia, and I absolutely love these books, and the story is okay. I did give them 4 stars, because of the story. The story isn't anything special. I do like the murder mystery in the first one, and the rituals in the second one, and having to go to hell, but the problem was, so here in the first one, like I said, the story wasn't anything special. I did like the murder mystery, but that was all. And in this second book, the problem that I had with it was, I thought they were going to spend so much more time in hell, and that didn't end up happening, and you just had so many other plot lines that, of course, they did converge in the end, but we spent more than half of the book in those plot lines, and you still didn't have a connection to the main one, and I was just getting kind of tired of that. But what I really like about these books, and this trilogy, is Alex Stern as a character. I do think she's such an amazing character, because she feels like a real person. She truly does feel like someone that went through a lot, and because of that is very, very troubled. And I just like seeing her overcoming her fears, overcoming her obstacles, and just really healing from her trauma. And now we go to the Locked Tomb series. So we have Gideon the Ninth, which is the first one, Harold the Ninth, which is the second one, and then we have Nona the Ninth, which is the third one. And now, I do enjoy this series a lot, but you do have to go in it with the right mindset. This is very convoluted. This is very confusing, convoluted, and it is supposed to be. That's just the author's style when she's writing. So please keep that in mind, but I actually really do enjoy the magic system here. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy how convoluted the story is, and how I just know that in the beginning, everything is just vibes. Everything is just vibes, and we're going to get, a few clues here and there, and then everything, in the last 30%, everything just starts to connect, and everything just starts to happen. And actually, I think my favorite one does have to be Gideon, because here we do have a locked door murder mystery, which I absolutely love. We have so many rooms that you need to get the keys of in order to complete the challenge that is set, and I absolutely love Gideon as a character. She completely carries this book. She's just so sassy, and it's not sassy in a cringy way. She knows when to be sassy, and it's just really, really cool. And then I do prefer Harrow, because even though this is written in the second person, this is the case where being written in the second person actually works in favor of this book, because Harrow is an unreliable narrator. So it does feel like even you are the unreliable narrator, and you're just going inside these weird rooms, having these weird visions, and you don't even know if it's true, if it's not true. And I just absolutely love that. And these covers are stunning, by the way. Just look at them. They are so gothic, and that is why in the last book, that we have out, which is Nona, I was so confused because this cover is not giving for me. It's not ugly. I do like the color scheme, but where is the gothicness? Where are the skeletons? And I was just a little bit disappointed with that. And this installment, it was needed. It was needed before Alecto the Ninth, but it wasn't really my favorite. I do understand why she did it, but just, it didn't really stay with me. And now we have the Empire of the Vampire trilogy by Jay Kristoff. The first book being Empire of the Vampire, the second, Empire of the Damned, and now the third, Empire of the Dawn, which I recently read. And this trilogy, honestly, I love the covers. Each cover is stunning. It's amazing. It's just so gorgeous and beautiful. But this trilogy is kind of up and down for me. I don't find it anything special. So the first book, which is Empire of the Vampire, I gave it a solid 4 stars. I do think it is a little bit too long for what it is. It does have 3 different timelines, but everything is very easy to follow. And then I actually really did enjoy the last book, Empire of the Dawn, which I also gave 4 stars. I think the story was solid. I didn't really enjoy the ending. I do think it needed a little bit more consequences, but the one I liked the least, of course, is Empire of the Damned. This one was 3 stars. I was so scared when I bought the last book in this trilogy, because I thought it was going to be a disappointment as well, but alas, it was not. I am so glad that it wasn't, but this one, it was just way too long for what it was. It had no plot whatsoever. I do understand that the characters needed to be developed, but, I was expecting just a little bit more of a plot. And then we have such an underrated political fantasy series, which is The Daughter of the Empire, which is the first book by Raymond E. Feist and Jenny Wirtz. We have the second one, which is, I don't know in Portuguese, The Servant of the Empire, which in Portuguese it was divided, by 2 books. And then we have the last installment, which is The Lady of the Empire. Now, this trilogy, stunning. This Empire trilogy is stunning. It's amazing. If you like political fantasy, please, I beg you, please read this trilogy. You're not going to be disappointed. This has, it's very much inspired by Asian culture. You have a lot of themes about honor, family, duty, all of those things, but you have so much political fantasy. So in this trilogy, we do follow a young girl named Mala. She's 17. She's about to become a nun when she is called to her, family house, because her father and her brother have suddenly passed away at war, and now she has to lead their household, the family name, the Akoma name, and this is where her journey starts, because she just has to learn everything from scratch. She's a woman, which means that people just do not respect her at all. She will have to marry in order to not be respected, but she does have to marry because here in this culture, they only see the man as the leader, so she will have to get married. She has to overcome so many obstacles just to keep her family name alive, and she is one of the oldest families, and that is something that is going to help her out in this journey. But please read this. It's just so good. And we follow Mada. We start, like I said, when she's 17, but we follow her throughout her entire life. I think we end and she's like 40 or 50 or something. She has children. It is just amazing. Please read it. And everyone has heard about this book, The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong. It is very, very good. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's a little bit overhyped. The story isn't anything original at all. It isn't anything special. Plus, I do think the first 200 pages is very info dumpy, and that's why I didn't, give it 5 stars. But character arcs, I absolutely loved character arcs in here. The way that she explores motherhood, the way that she also explores, how to be responsible and accountable for your own choices, and the way that your life is right now, it's because of those said choices. So you do have to be accountable. You also have to understand where other people come from, learn how to forgive, how to accept. It is just amazing. So if you haven't read it yet, then I would highly recommend. And as you can tell, I do, of course, have here the Green Bone Saga by Fonda Lee. The first one is Jade City, the second, Jade War, and last is Jade Legacy. I really, really enjoy the series. Like I said before, I don't usually enjoy urban fantasy, but this mafia gangster type of story, it just hooked me from the beginning. So the first book, Jade City, I didn't, enjoy it as much as other people. I did give it 4 stars because I did feel like the middle was dragged a little bit. I don't think Fonda Lee knew what she wanted to do in the middle, which is fine, but the ending and the beginning were very, very strong. And then we have Jade War, which is the second installment, and this one, oh my god, this one elevated, just the story to a whole nother level. I gave it 4.5 stars. Just everything that the characters went through, completely insane, and how she explores relationships inside the family, friends as well, romances, just everything when it comes to relationships, loving relationships. It's just amazing. And then, of course, we have Jade Legacy, which is the best book in this trilogy, in my opinion. I give this 5 stars. It was traumatizing. It was very much traumatizing. In this book, a lot of our characters, our favorite characters, they suffer and they go through so many things. And even my favorite character here does just a few things that are unacceptable and unthinkable in my opinion, which it's so strange because I absolutely love that character, and seeing my favorite character just doing things that I do not agree with, it was very fascinating. But nonetheless, I just really enjoy this book. So if you haven't read this trilogy, please give it a chance, especially if you like movies like The Godfather, for example, mafia, gangsters, then please give it a chance because I tell you, you are not going to regret it. And then, as you can see, these 2 books, I do have the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. So the Poppy War is the first one, the Dragon Republic is the second, and the Burning God is the third. Now, this trilogy, actually, I don't like it as much as other people do. I do like it enough to have it here on my shelves, but just these last 2 books, they just didn't do it for me. I just think they were so long and they didn't have a reason to be long. They were very repetitive at some point, so I did give both of them 3.5 stars. I did like how it ended though. I do like how the trilogy ended. So my favorite one is definitely the Poppy War. The change that happened in the tone of, being a very academic, even if it was military setting, to just a straight out war, it was very surprising and it was very abrupt. I didn't really enjoy that, but I do understand why the author chose to do that because war is abrupt. That is just the reality of things. And actually, the more that time passes, I actually do like that choice a little bit more. But yeah, I would recommend the Poppy War because it does have a lot of themes involved that I do think everyone should give a chance. And we are finally almost done with this bookshelf, and now we have one of my favorite trilogies of all time that I'm always talking about. Let me just remove these knickknacks. It's the Bone Witch trilogy by Rin Chupeco. The first one is the Bone Witch, the second one, the Heart Forger, and the third one, the Shadow Glass. I absolutely love this trilogy with my whole heart. It was my boyfriend that found it, that recommended it to me back in 2020, and I am so thankful that he recommended me this book because, oh my god, it is just amazing. I absolutely love it. I do understand that some people might not like it because it is young adult, but please read it. The first book is pretty young adult, but it gets a little bit more adult as the books get by, and I just love the themes in this book. I love how the author talks about them, how she was very in your face with them because she does have a very strict opinion when it comes to these, and I usually don't like that. I usually don't like when authors don't give a space for interpretation, but I didn't mind it with these books. I actually did not because, I don't know, I think maybe it's because I do agree with the author when she was saying, for example, how discrimination happens and how we don't allow people to do what they want to do just because of tradition, how tradition can stop us, or how, the higher-ups can just be okay and sleep well at night by sacrificing a few people. And honestly, just please read it. I absolutely love this trilogy, and I love this trilogy when I have multiple copies of the first book. So I do have the normal paperback, I found the hardback edition, and I have the entirety of the Illumicrate special edition that they made. So the Bone Witch here, the Heart Forger, and I just absolutely love these special editions. The edges are just gorgeous, and it does have a 3-headed dragon if you're wondering what this is. But my favorite is actually the Heart Forger. I just love the white and the red. Just stunning. Honestly, it was the best purchase that I've ever made, and probably the only special editions that I'm going to own. And I do have a random unicorn here. I don't know why, just don't ask me, but it is cute. And we have finally entered my manga section, and I do have a bunch of figurines here. So this is just a Scooby-Doo type of thing that I found at Burger King, and I just thought it was adorable. I love the pumpkin mask, so it's just here. And then, of course, I have Neji, also from Burger King. I have Gaara, because he's my favorite emo boy from Naruto. And then I have my boy, this man would be my best friend. Hawk Lee, I just absolutely love him. I love everything that he stands for, and he's just my favorite character out of Naruto by far. So just these little figurines, and then I do have oh my god. Don't die, Gata. Don't die. I do have a rubber duck, and the reason why it's because my brother went to Amsterdam. He went to that duck shop, and look at it. It's just so cute. It's just literally so cute. And I do have a picture of me when I was little, so I'm not going to show that because embarrassing. And I do have a Hunter x Hunter mug that I absolutely love, and it has all of my bookmarks in here. I just love this mug. I love it. I really enjoyed Hunter x Hunter. It was just such a fun anime. It's not perfect or amazing, but it's very, very fun. And this is my favorite bookmark by far. Just look at this long cat. I always want to use it, which is kind of sad because I don't use any of the others. But when it comes to my manga collection, I'm not going to dig them out. So I'm just going to show you guys what it is. So for now, I do have Promised Neverland until volume 10. But my boyfriend is gifting me volume 9 and 11, so I'm going to binge those 3 mangas, which I am very, very excited for, especially because The Promised Neverland, I love season 1 like most people. Season 2, don't watch it. It's just horrible. It's not worth your time at all. But the manga is different, and I actually am enjoying the manga so much more. And this is why I just don't understand why people change. Like, why would you change a good story? I don't understand. And I do have Jujutsu Kaisen, and it is only 1 volume because I want to start collecting it, but of course I have to start with my man, Nanami. Yes, he is my favorite character. Hello. He's just, he's just daddy. That's just who he is. And of course, I do have 4 mangas by Junji Ito. I love horror, and I just love his work so much. So my favorite out of these has to be Uzumaki. I just think it's so original. The concept of, spirals haunting a town, a village. It's just so crazy how he comes up with these concepts. The only thing though, I do wish he had explained a little bit better where that curse came from. I do also enjoy Tomi very much. My least favorite has to be Gyo. I don't know, it was just too weird for me, which is strange. And I did really like his recreation of Frankenstein, and I actually found it a little bit more funny. And I know it sounds weird to say funny because this is a horror manga, but I actually did find it very, very funny. And sorry for the sudden change of lighting. It's a storm outside, so it is what it is. I can't do much better than this. And it doesn't just have Frankenstein. It also has other short stories that I really, really enjoyed. And lastly, I have my Death Note omnibus version. I absolutely love Death Note. Is it perfect? No, it is not perfect at all by any means. But I just love it. It is just one of my guilty pleasures. I absolutely love L as a character. And he's just my Pookie. I just call him my Pookie. He is just so awkward and just so quirky. And I absolutely love that about him. And yeah, I finished the tour of my bookshelves. So I really do hope you enjoy them. I know they're not, the most aesthetically pleasing, but it is what it is. And that is it for this video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed my bookshelves. I know they're not aesthetic, like I said, but it's just what I have to work with. And I do have some other books that just do not fit in my bookshelf anymore. I do have them under my bed, unfortunately, because they just do not fit, So that is why I'm gonna have also my update on my bookshelves, because I desperately need and I want them, because I just don't like it, okay? I just do not like the look of my bookshelves. But please let me know down in the comments below if there are any favorite books that you saw on my bookshelves that are also your favorite books, or books that you have read that you have any opinions on. Please let me know down below, because I just love, knowing people's thoughts about all the books that I have read. And please do not forget to like and subscribe to this video, because it does help my channel out a lot, and it gives me a lot of motivation and validation to continue filming these videos for you guys. And I will see you on my next video. Bye!